One scene ruins Street Fighter II, the animated movie.
Vaughn Job Vlog.
Alright assholes, get ready to hit that unsubscribe button because this is the kind of review that pisses off the internet, namely YouTube. So, I watched Street Fighter, the animated movie from 1994. This is the anime, and I will grant you this, it is the best Street Fighter film. Not saying a whole lot there. This was on Amazon Prime Video, so I saw what I believe is the unrated international version, though this differs. It seems like somebody spliced some together, because this seems to also be the American version, as it's in English, and it features the American rock soundtrack with some grunge and nu metal, featuring Korn and Silverchair. Shit, I haven't even heard Silverchair's name said in 20 years. Well, this doesn't look awful, so long as they're fighting. It's like there were two different teams working on this movie. One of them, skilled craftsmen with good fight choreography. You start the movie off with Ryu fighting Sagat. Okay, there we go. They're on some, grassy road someplace. There's thunder. No rain. Rain's a little tough to animate. There's a lot of thunder and lightning. And they're having this battle, and Sagat looks about 12 feet tall, and Ryu beats him with the Dragon Punch. Is that how it translates? And that gives him the scar, and there you go. We're satisfied enough. This is fitting with Street Fighter II continuity. Yes, everything's coming together, and you will see every character up to Super Street Fighter II Turbo featured in this movie in some capacity. And yes, Akuma has a small cameo where he's just sitting wayside. I don't know what the hell he's doing, bartering or some shit. He looks homeless or like some beggar. But yeah, we're starting off okay. But then when they're not fighting, you have the B team animating. And it looks like early anime sketch artwork from a 12-year-old chick on Instagram. That's how bad some of these scenes look. Ken talking to his fiance, would-be wife, whatever we're calling her, looks freaking atrocious. Now, I gotta respect how they actually had real cars in this movie. You see a Ford Mustang. You see Ken driving a Porsche 911 Turbo Cabriolet, and it says Porsche on the back. You see a Jeep. It says Jeep. That's a ballsy move. Well, our focus of the film seems to be with Ryu, so there we go. Check 1, check 2. Focusing on the main protagonist of the series instead of Guile and Chun-Li. Okay, not bad. Well, we do have Cammy White come in. She assassinates some dude in a really badass spin neck twist busting move. Gets arrested by Chun-Li, who, jokingly enough, is wearing her attire from Street Fighting at Interpol. While she's like in an interrogation room and they're talking about how Cammy's brainwashed, we see Bison show up. He's looking very, very alpha Bison. He doesn't look like the Bison you know from Street Fighter II, but somewhere a little after. And this is also kind of weird because there are flashbacks in which Ken and Ryu are fighting. And Ryu doesn't have a headband, but Ken has long hair and it's tied with a red band, and that's just like his Alpha costume. The Alpha game doesn't even come out, Zero if you're in Japan, doesn't even come out until 1995. So did this inspire that, or was there coordination? Maybe Capcom actually had some coordination here. I will give them that. Well, Bison, I don't understand what his plan is. He wants to take over the world, but he has to get the best Street Fighters in the world on his side to do that. So he has like androids walking around that scan Street Fighting and try to determine power levels. He's determined that Ryu is the most powerful. He beats Sagat, and he has to capture him. But then he also decides that, hey, Ken Master's just as good. Okay, sure. So Chun-Li and Guile have to team up. Guile's with the American Air Force, right? It says in the description that he's a major, but no, he's a captain. It's said throughout the movie. I've never heard him, I don't think I've heard him said as Major Guile. Or is that in the Street Fighter live action film? Is he Major Guile? I'm not certain about this. But they have to team up and try to bring down Bison. They have to try to talk Ryu and Ken into joining them. Nobody really wants to join him. Nobody wants a piece of this. Ryu's kind of just walking around with his sack of trash, like he has in Street Fighter 3. It's interesting that bag comes out here when I don't believe it makes an appearance in Street Fighter 2. It might make an appearance in one of the Street Fighter 2 endings, but I'm not certain of this. He jumps around from street fight to street fight. He fights Fei Long, who is Bruce Lee. He's even a movie star. They come across... well, he kind of just ditches Fei Long, but after he beats him, comes across E Honda and Dulcium fighting. In Vegas, you see Zangief and Blanca fighting. If they don't have a real role in the movie, at least you get to see them fighting. Street fights. Fighting in a Street Fighter movie. In the street. What a novel thought. It's not a bad screenplay given that it has to put, a dozen plus characters together? Really not the worst idea here. But there is a pressing matter, and this is where you're going to hate. The Chun-Li shower scene. This was crass, tasteless, absolutely horrible. I'm shocked that Capcom would approve this. Imagine this. Chun-Li is one of the first women of video games. Yeah, Miss Pac-Man. You could call her numero uno. But Samus, 1987, Chun-Li, 1991, there's not a lot. Maybe Blaze, 91 also. There's not a lot of good, strong women role models in games at the time Chun-Li comes around. Now we're inundated with them. But imagine if the Tomb Raider movie had Lara Croft's breasts exposed in a shower scene. This is the kind of thing that I'm just like, why? I understand fan service, but this is a holy sort of character here. This is not somebody who goes into the shower, throws back her large boobs, and then Vega is largely and strongly suggested to go in there and rape her. She has a fight with Vega. It's a nicely choreographed looking fight and everything. I could see you putting the fights of this movie projected up on a screen in a club and then hitting it with some dance music. That could work. I could see that being cool. But I think that you put a big asterisk on this movie because of what it does to belittle Chun-Li. I think that's really unfortunate that they had to do that. From that point forward, I felt like the movie was on a sour note. Bison comes by, abducts Ken. Ryu climbs some mountain. I guess he's training with E Honda in some shack or some shit. Bison's plane shows up. What is he, Professor X? They also have this giant Buddha head that opens up, and like he can afford this. How did he manage? What's the military presence here? It just seems like it's Bison and a few guys, really. He wants to fight Ryu. He's brainwashed Ken after abducting him. Now Ken has to fight Ryu. And I guess, is this the origin of Violent Ken? Evil Ryu sort of stuff? It's Violent Ken, right? Is this the origin of that? Because it feels like it could have been inspired here. He brainwashes him with the psycho power, right? They don't call it Shadow Lu here. They call it Shadow Law as an organization. It's even spelt out as such. And it's also weird that the dossiers on these characters they mention have Balrog and Vega mixed around with Bison, because in Japan, say Balrog is the boxer. Here, well, in Japan, he's not. He's M. Bison. The punny name here, Mike Tyson. Yeah, well, Ryu whoops everybody, of course. Ken snaps out of it. They fight Bison together. I have to wonder why Bison isn't the highest rated fighter, because it takes two people to fight him. The two highest rated guys have to fight Bison at once. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Why does Bison need any of these guys? Like, shit. Can he not just psycho fist mind warp somebody with money? I don't get it. It's not... the plot does a good job of putting the characters together so you get a satisfying enough movie, but then you go and make it R-rated like that, exploiting Chun-Li. Ultimately, Bison's, I guess, motive is just a wash. They defeat Bison. Chun-Li was whooped pretty bad by Vega and ended up in the hospital, had some surgery, faked out Guile, turned out she's perfectly okay, and everybody has a happy ending. Ryu walks down the street some, he says goodbye to Ken, he's got his bag in hand, and then here comes Bison in a semi-truck, and Ryu is going to jump kick the window, freeze frame, roll credits, they're very brief, and then at the end, you have a card advertising the live action film, which I think it says is going to come out in 95. It came out like December 94. This was a summer 94 Japan theatrical release. Here, United States, it was straight to video. Japan didn't get the live action Street Fighter until I think 95, so it's partially right. But it's like, hey, come watch our decent movie, and afterwards you can watch this really shitty one. I give Street Fighter the animated movie 2.5 out of 4 stars.
Like, comment, share, follow, subscribe. Vaughan Jog Vlog is made possible by your support on Patreon. Patreon.com/Vaughan Fry. Because Google.